Hi everybody. Hope everyone's doing well and staying safe and staying indoors. This whole quarantine thing is giving me a little bit of time to make a few things and start uploading more videos again. So today I have something very fun for you all. So as you can see, this is organic mango chunks. These are just like chunks that you get available anywhere. You can find them at Trader Joe's, Costco's. This is a whole big bag from Costco. And what I'm gonna make is fruit roll-ups. So you've generally eaten a lot of like these fruit roll-ups that are just dried, either strawberry, apple, mango, and they're just kind of dried fruit. Leather is also another name for it. But the one I'm gonna make is obviously has to have a little bit of Indian twist to it. So I'm gonna make masala fruit roll-ups, or you can just call them masala fruit leather, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. But here I have these come in frozen, so these have been sitting out on the counter for like 2-3 hours. They're now defrosted. If not, you can always defrost them in on like a low heat on the cooktop, or maybe like a minute or so in the oven. You don't really want to cook them, which is why like high power isn't recommended, which is why the best thing is to plan in advance. And being at home, this is a good thing because it does require a long time to get done. So what we're gonna do is, you can see this is in my Vitamix. I'm gonna just pulp this up first. So I'm gonna take everything and pulp it up. So let me do that. This one is about 5 pounds of mangoes, which is a lot. And they'll make a lot of fruit roll up. Now, I might take a little bit of out just to make a little bit of mango smoothie on the side, but you don't want to add any water to this as well. Just again, the more water you add, the longer it's going to take to evaporate. So let's just get this going. Okay, so I have this on here. Now I'm gonna make a little bit of puree, add some more in, and so just try and fill it up however much I get, and then whatever extra mangoes left, I'm not gonna use it. And this should be more than enough to kind of use up 3 baking trays. So I'll get to that part in a bit, but let me do this offline, like not have you deal with the noise. Okay, so I still have some of these left. Generally, you can also do them in 2 batches, but again, if you prefer, like, I'm just trying to do as maximum as I can, because then I can turn on my oven for the same amount of time and get more out of it. And this is what the pulp is looking like right now. I did have to use my this tool, plunger, I guess, and you can see it's pretty thick, and that's fine. I did not add any water. You don't want to do that. Mine is not completely defrosted, which is why it looks a bit frozen, but otherwise it's just gonna be a nice smoothie like consistency, and that's fine. I'm gonna give it a few more whirls just so that with the heat of the Vitamix also, this thing kind of like loosens up a little bit. Okay, there you go. As you can see, it's nice and almost full. So that's, I think, more than enough. I'm gonna switch here to show you my spice box. So what are we going to use? We're gonna use some red chili powder. Okay, so that's from here. In here, there are no bay leaves in here, but what I have in here is some coarsely ground cumin powder. So it's called jeera in Hindi, and that's what I've put in here. As you can see, it's just like coarse ground. So we're gonna use a little bit of that, some sea salt, and then in here I have some kind of a spice mix called chaat masala. It has this nice kind of salty, tangy flavor going through it. So it's not very spicy, but it has like this salty and tangy flavor to it. So we're gonna add some of this. Now I generally don't have a real recipe in terms of like what is the measurement. I try to use, like, if you want it more spicy, put more of that. You can use about a teaspoon of this, about half a teaspoon of this, and then salt a little bit, like a half a teaspoon, and then about half to 1 teaspoon of that. So that's kind of what I'm going to go with, and then I'll give it a taste test and feel like, what does it taste like to me, and that's kind of the measurement. If you want to kind of just make these plain, you can do that too. If you just want to add a little bit of spice, you can do that as well. You can also skip the chili powder and add maybe just the cumin powder and salt. Salt is necessary in here just because it gives it a nice kind of like fullness to the flavor, like because everything else is sweet. Now, keep in mind there is no additional sugar in here. This is just fruit and some spices. Okay, so as you can see, kind of added some cumin powder here, about a half a teaspoon, maybe a little bit more. Some red chili, paprika is also a good thing if you don't want it too spicy. And then some chaat masala, and then there's a little bit of salt underneath it. So I'm gonna give this a whirl again. It's best, I can always hand mix it, but it's best to kind of just do it in the blender. So let me do all of that, and then we're ready to get our oven going as well. I'm actually, let's just do this right now. I'm gonna turn on my oven to bake mode at 180 Fahrenheit, okay? And this is going to start. That doesn't work that well, but believe me, it is 180. So we're just gonna let this preheat, which will happen pretty quickly. We are trying to do this for a long time at a very low heat. Essentially, you're trying to dehydrate it and dry it out rather than cook it. All right, okay, so everything is mixed up. I ended up adding a little bit more of salt, cumin powder, and chaat masala, about maybe 1/4 of a teaspoon, so not that much. And then this is not too spicy, but it has a nice, like a little bit of kick in there. So I think this is looking good. Now let me show you what we're going to do. Okay, so as you can see here, I have 3 baking sheets. So just your standard cookie sheets in here. And I have lined all 3 of them with parchment paper. And we're gonna pour the mixture in here and try and spread it out evenly. Now, I've done this a few times before, and I've tried it with silicone mat at the bottom, and that didn't work well in terms of drying out the fruit. So I feel like just having the parchment paper works best, and then it's really easy to peel off once it's all dry as well. This is going to go into the oven. I showed you 180 Fahrenheit for at least 6 hours, depending on how thick of a layer you have, and then which rack your trays are in. It varies a little bit. So I generally might have to do like anywhere from 6 to 8 hours, which is why being at home and not having to go anywhere is a perfect time to do this. So let me show you once I pour all 3 of them in, get them all full and even, and then we'll pop them in. Okay, so I got them all in, split evenly between these 3. And obviously as you spread them around with your spatula, they're going to be uneven. So you have to like pick them up, jiggle them around, tap them on the counter a few times quite hard, make some noise, and I'm gonna just put them everything in, and then we're gonna come back and after 6 or 7 hours to do a check. Okay, so all 3 of them in here, top rack, middle rack, and then at the bottom I don't have a fan or anything, so I have this this rack from my microwave. I just put it there and I'm gonna leave it there, so that actually dries out faster than the top 2. So in between I might rotate these out just for some evenness, and then I will show you what the end product looks like. It's gonna take 6 to 8 hours, but believe me, this is gonna be really a fun thing to eat and snack on. Okay, I'll see you later. Hey everyone, so I'm back. It's the next day. So like I told you, this did take 6 to 8 hours. I rotated the trays in the racks a couple of times, and then I let it sit overnight. So turn off the oven and then just let them sit, and so it's now the next. And as you can see over here, obviously the only thing with the parchment paper is that it tends to kind of like shrink up and cross these lines. It's fine, I don't care, right? Like it just takes longer with silicone mats, but it comes out smoother. So that's your trade-offs there. As you can see on the sides, sometimes it's a thinner, but as I'll peel this off, you'll see that it will become kind of nice, and you can either roll it up or keep them as strips. So what I'm going to do over here is kind of start using a pizza cutter, cut out the sides a little bit, and then just cut some vertical lines and then roll up a few. And some of the edges where you might have thinner things, it might be crispy. So sometimes like in here, if you see over here, it's really, really thin. It's almost like a chip. It's fine, which is why I was like, I'm gonna just cut the borders out and then do the roll up. So let me do that and then come back and show you what it looks like. Before I do that, I want to show you, like, Let's start showing you here. So as you can see, these things, they kind of start coming off. And you'll see, like, sometimes the paper will get stuck, but otherwise, for the most part, it can come off very easily as well. So just kind of start, like, peeling it apart like that slowly. That's why I like to cut it first and then roll it up in smaller sections. Okay, so I cut off the edges. As you can see, sometimes like even like these little pieces, they're just gonna come off. Just pop them in your mouth. And so as you can see, I cut off some strips and then I roll them a little bit, just like that. And then I'll do a horizontal cut, and so like do this roll, keep it. I could go on and on if I want, right? You can cut them thin like this, or like whatever you wish, but really, as you can see, these are just gonna start peeling off, and just looks like that. So I hope you like this recipe. This is not an Instant Pot recipe, but something different. I really like doing this, and I feel like some of the store-bought fruit roll-ups, they're generally very sweet, and so sometimes if I want this like different variation in flavor, I really like having these spiced up, kind of an Indian twist on a regular fruit leather. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I hope to bring you more recipes in the coming days. Bye.